The Shadow Executive, a fictionalized account inspired by true events. By Dan Mason. Dedication. To the men and women who serve in moments of unspeakable crisis, where decisions must be made in seconds, and the weight of those decisions can never be lifted, and to the quiet spaces of history, where the truth is known only to those who were there. This story is for the ones who carry the burden no one else can see. Introduction. There are moments in history when the formal chain of command, the visible structures of power, become secondary to the person who steps forward and acts. The morning of September 11, 2001, was one of those moments. In the hours of chaos, when President George W. Bush was airborne and the nation was under attack, Vice President Richard Cheney assumed the mantle of authority in a way no vice president had done before. Though his official status as acting president was invoked briefly during other moments in Bush's administration, it was on that day, and in the months that followed, that Cheney's influence transcended constitutional formality and entered the realm of silent stewardship. The Shadow Executive is a fictionalized account, but it is drawn carefully from real events, testimonies, and documented actions. This story seeks to explore not only what happened, but the human element, the private burden of making life-or-death decisions, the shadowed corridors of power, and the psychological cost of leadership exercised under extraordinary pressure. In this novella, you will walk the halls of the PEOC bunker, sit inside the Situation Room, and overhear the conversations that shaped a nation's future, some recorded in history, others imagined but entirely plausible. It is not a defense of Dick Cheney, nor is it a condemnation. It is an invitation to wrestle with the moral complexities of power when time is short and the cost is high. There is a difference between the man we see and the man who lives with what he has done. This is the story of that man. Chapter 1. The Call from the Sky. The early September air was heavy with the quiet hum of a normal morning in Washington, D.C. Vice President Richard Cheney sat in his office, rifling through national security briefings, the usual thrum of guarded power surrounding him. His chief of staff, Scooter Libby, entered briskly, setting a leather-bound folder on Cheney's desk. "Mr. Vice President, we've just been alerted. American Airlines Flight 11 has struck the North Tower." Cheney's eyes narrowed. "Accident?" "Too early to say, sir, but it doesn't look like one." Cheney glanced toward the muted television where smoke now billowed from the World Trade Center. A cold tightness clenched in his chest. "Get the president." Libby's voice softened. "He's in Florida, reading to school children." Cheney rose from his chair, grabbing his coat. "Secret Service? They're on their way." Seconds later, the agents burst in. "Mr. Vice President, we need to move, now." They guided him swiftly through the West Wing corridors, descending to the Secure Presidential Emergency Operations Center, PEOC, bunker below the White House. Inside, General Richard Clark was already coordinating with NORAD, sweat beading on his brow. He looked up sharply as Cheney entered. "We may have more incoming, sir." Cheney's voice was cold steel. "Who's got eyes on the airspace?" "Langley's scrambling fighters, but they're late. We've got United 93 and American 77 unaccounted for." Cheney's gaze fixed on the operational screen. "If they're heading here, we have no time." Mary Madeline appeared beside him, pale but focused. "Sir, you may need to make a call." Cheney turned to the military aide. "Rules of engagement. Do our pilots have authorization to shoot down civilian aircraft if confirmed hijacked?" "They're waiting for presidential clearance." Cheney's jaw locked. "They have it. You tell them. They have it." The aide hesitated. "Sir, should we confirm with the president?" Cheney's eyes hardened. "I said, they have it." Chapter 2. Echoes in the bunker. The fluorescent lights in the PEOC flickered as communication lines hummed with chaotic updates. Aides, generals, and intelligence officers orbited around the vice president, their faces drawn with the weight of the moment. Mary whispered urgently, "There's chatter about a plane heading for the Pentagon." Seconds later, the wall screens confirmed it. Smoke unfurled into the skies of Arlington. General Clark turned to Cheney. "What are your orders regarding United 93? Cheney spoke with precise finality. "Engage if necessary, This isn't a drill. They are weapons. Scooter Libby entered, phone pressed to his ear. Sir, the president is on Air Force One. He's asking for a status update. Cheney took the receiver. Mr. President, this is a coordinated attack. I've authorized the shoot-down of any hijacked planes targeting Washington. Bush's voice crackled through the line. You did the right thing, Dick. Stay on it. I'm airborne. After hanging up, Cheney's eyes drifted toward the bunker doors, his voice tightening as he addressed the room. We hold the line here. The nation depends on this room. Our authority must be clear and immediate. General Clark nodded. Yes, Mr. Vice President. Chapter 3. The Weight of Authority. Later, as the dust settled, Cheney sat in the darkened war room, quietly contemplating the decisions he had made. Scooter approached cautiously. You did what had to be done, sir. Cheney's gaze lingered on a report detailing the likely shoot-down of United 93. We'll never know if it was our order or the passengers who brought it down. His voice cracked slightly, the rarest glimmer of emotion. But the weight of that call, that's mine to bear. Mary entered with transcripts from NORAD. The commission will want records, timelines, confirmations. Cheney's lip curled. Let them come. I didn't hesitate when hesitation would have cost thousands. Bush returned to Washington later that evening, and in a private moment inside the Oval Office, he faced Cheney directly. You were the president today, Dick. Cheney looked at him squarely. No, Mr. President. I just did what was necessary while you were away. Bush smirked faintly. Let's not pretend. You're the man the nation turned to when I was in the sky. Cheney exhaled. Let's just hope history is kind enough to understand why. Chapter 4. Shadow Command. The following months would cement Cheney's role not just as vice president, but as the architect of the War on Terror. Inside the Situation Room, Cheney chaired more meetings than the president himself. He strategized wiretapping expansions, pushed legal teams toward enhanced interrogation, and negotiated the practicalities of the Patriot Act. David Addington, Cheney's legal counsel, walked him through a draft of the Enhanced Surveillance Order. This will push the edge of constitutional authority, Addington warned. Cheney's response was chillingly pragmatic. Good. The edge is where we need to be. Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice would often find themselves bypassed, their objections sidelined by the weight of Cheney's presence. In one tense moment, Powell confronted Cheney directly. You're running a presidency inside the presidency, Dick. Cheney simply replied, Someone has to. Chapter 5. The Iraq Gambit. By 2002, Cheney was the most relentless advocate for military action against Saddam Hussein. In a pivotal briefing with CIA Director George Tenet, Cheney pressed hard. You're certain about the weapons? Cheney's gaze was a scalpel. Tenet, nervous but decisive, responded, It's a slam-dunk case. Cheney nodded, already assembling the framework for the Iraq campaign. Mary Madeline pulled him aside afterward. Sir, even if we win militarily, we might lose politically. Cheney's stare was unblinking. I don't care about winning politically. I care about preventing another 9/11. That's the only calculus that matters. Chapter 6. The Private Reckoning. Years later, after his approval ratings had collapsed and Bush's second term wound down, Cheney found himself sitting alone on his Wyoming porch. His daughter Liz approached, bringing him coffee. They don't see the whole picture, Dad. They never will. Cheney's face, weathered by time and decisions, remained unreadable. I know, he said quietly, watching the sun sink behind the Tetons. But I saw it. I lived it. Liz sat beside him, searching his face. Do you regret anything? Cheney's answer came with the weight of 1,000 silent decisions. I regret that it had to be me. Epilogue. History's Shadow. Though George W. Bush was the elected president, history would forever remember that in the most critical hours, it was Richard Cheney who held the reins. The nation survived the day because someone was willing to carry that burden, and the cost of such power would follow Cheney, a ghostly shadow, for the rest of his life. Whether hero or villain, the man in the bunker would forever remain the Shadow Executive. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of the deep state and the neocons.